Hi, this is John Marshall, the DrillMaster. This is a platoon regulation drill critique, and it's brought to you by my book, The Platoon. Actually, that's a really long title, The Platoon/Flight and Drill Team Coaches Field Manual. However, it covers what it needs to cover. It's for drill teams, it's for platoons and flights, it's all regulation drill that pertains to junior ROTC, Sea Cadets, Civil Air Patrol, everything you need to know for each of the services. All right, let's get out of that and let's get into... This is Sigonella High School. Sigonella. Where is Sigonella? It's actually in Italy. So, for those of you who don't know, junior ROTC units exist all over the world, not just in the United States and the territories. They're all over the world at military bases. So, at a Navy base, a U.S. Navy base in Italy or Japan, that's Navy Junior ROTC. Sometimes Marine Corps. When I was stationed in Japan, I worked with an Air Force team on Kadena Air Base, and then there was a Marine Corps base there that had, and I forget the name just off the top of my head, but they had Marine Corps JROTC. So there's all kinds of Army, Navy, Marine Corps, each service except for the Coasties. All right, so let's go on with... All right, going to stop there. So, Sigonella, Commander, you're talking your commands. You need to be much louder. You need to project that voice. You have clarity in your voice, but you need to project a lot more. So if you notice here, and we'll back up like I always do. See how the lift of the rifle is on the preparatory command? That's not a thing for anybody at any time, anywhere, anyhow. We don't do that in the military. So that means that we don't do that in junior ROTC, Civil Air Patrol, Sea Cadets, or Sea Scouts for that matter. All right, so don't lift the rifle. The command is going to be right or left face or even about face, and then you lift on that first count and then place the rifle down on the second count. And making a left face kind of makes the rifle swing out unless you actually take control of that rifle. So you're going to lift and place it over and then down. So try not to let it swing out on the left face. Right face is a little easier because you're moving to the inside, if you kind of get my meaning with the rifle. And then about face, almost all hope is lost sometimes, but you just really have to pull that rifle in with your fingers as they're extended and joined on the side of the rifle there. All right, so you've executed the left face. That's kind of strange, I know, Commander, we've talked on social media in private messages back and forth before, but the one thing I haven't asked is why you're starting off over here to the left side of the judge and then marching in at left face with your squad leaders behind. That's a little strange. So we're going to... marching in at trail, which is fine. Arm swing is really good. Excellent halt to be centered. So, Commander, what I would like to do is watch your arm swing there. Arm swing is fine, but look at how you're holding the saber. So it looks like your wrist is bent like this. So when you hold, you actually should have, if we can see that there you go. So what you're going to do is you're going to put one finger inside and then the rest of the fingers on the outside, and then your wrist should be fairly neutral. All right? Now, it's not going to be completely neutral, but it's going to be fairly neutral. It looks like you have a bit of a bend there. So and that's going to cause fatigue almost immediately with your wrist. So we want to try and avoid that as much as possible. Step, close, good job. And you're facing the platoon. That's good. Now, one thing that the team is doing is slamming the rifle down at each. When you stop, when you finish the facing movement, it's move, slam, step close, and slam. And it shouldn't be a slam there. You should be lowering it so that you don't make sound. Now, you might make a tiny bit of sound here and there. That's not that big of a deal. We're not looking for silence necessarily, but we're looking for not slamming the rifle. So if you look here, first squad leader, see how the rifle has come down, and it looks like all three toes are aligned. So that's good, but as soon as you place the rifle, then you need to pull the rifle in, ground it up against your shoe with those fingers. So push that rifle in as quickly as possible. Good salute. Now you should be sounding off, Commander. And look at your feet as well. Very close here. A little bit close there. This doesn't seem to be too bad. It looks like there's good separation here, 45-degree angle. So feet are an issue for the team, as well as rifle placement. So a little bit of a timing issue there. All right, so dress right, dress, ready front, and that's fine. Now, I remember we talked, and you're supposed to, this is an Air Force competition that you're going to. I guess it's hosted at Ramstein Air Base, Ramstein High School. So they're Air Force. And everybody is trying to conform to the Air Force technique or the Air Force command. So this is throughout this whole routine. Everybody who's Navy and Marine Corps, even Coast Guard, you're going to look at this and say, "What on the earth are you doing?" So just to be clear, I'll go through and just make sure that everybody understands that what they just did with the dress right and the ready front without saying cover, because cover must be called after ready front in the Marine Corps, Navy, and Coast Guard. So, but what they're doing is staying with the commands list that is Air Force based. All right. So we just need to make sure that everybody's aware of that. They're not wrong. They're just being forced to use the Air Force style, and which actually I don't appreciate. I really don't appreciate all of the teams being forced into the Army technique, or in this case now the Air Force technique, or going somewhere. And honestly, it's mainly for the judges, so that the judges don't have to do actually what I do, which is try and completely comprehend all three manuals and know the differences constantly. And it's difficult. It really is, because you can fill up your head with all this information and you'll forget something. It'll drop out the back. So then you go back to the manuals and you're reading through, and that's new information, and the other information's falling out the back. So it's a constant cycle, which is why if you look behind me there, see that stack? Let me point right here. See that stack of manuals right there? That's all the drill and ceremonies and protocol and flag manuals. And then I have these new ones that I need to get through and start tabbing and all that. So it's a constant battle, and I'm fairly sure that most judges would not want to be that aware of all of the standards. So I get why we go into everybody must do it the Army way for certain competitions, or everybody must do it the Marine Corps way. I get it. However, I really wish that all the teams were allowed. We could have the main list, like regulation drill, have the regulation drill list for each of the services with the couple of differences that are available So, and well, off my soapbox. All right, Commander, not necessary to go to parade rest. If you give the platoon present arms, it's not necessary to return the salute. You're not performing as a platoon member. Or in this case, a flight member, because it's Air Force. You're not going through the you're not going through the routine with the platoon. You're taking the platoon through the performance, through the sequence of events. You're being judged as a commander, not as a member. So you don't go to parade rest when they go to parade rest. You're taking them through their course. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now grips were a little, there's a couple of instances here. Left hands are high on that the upper handguard there. Also, when you place the rifle either shoulder, as soon as you place the rifle, you need to have the proper grip for the service. So that's something to be cognizant of as you're going through this. So the articulation of all the counts was good. Nice count off there. Good. Extend. Good. However, Commander, you should have faced the platoon the entire time. Now, the steps in and back for the platoon, fine. But Commander, you need to face the platoon, and you're on close, you're actually going to march forward, and then on extend, you actually march backward. All right, here we go. Good. Good. Good job. Now, there's some pretty decent rifle control there as you're executing the sidestep. I know that it's kind of strange having to sidestep with that rifle. So several of the team members were doing really well. This rifle here, second squads in the second rank, this rifle was swinging back and forth a little bit. So try, and I know it can be difficult, try and keep that rifle as vertical as possible, as still as possible. So again, should have been facing. And there's a little bit of a difference with rifle angles. So here, and it's difficult to know what techniques to use, what techniques not to use. For using the commands, I would say when you're forced into another service's command sequence, then use those commands, but use your service's techniques. So here we have a column right. Everybody does a column right. However, Marine Corps, Navy, and Coast Guard, when they're at the half step, they're using a toe strike first. Whereas Army and Air Force, whether you're marching forward at a half step or at a whole step, the heel always strikes first. The only time the toe would strike first is on a back step. So Air Force calls forward march, which is not a big thing to add, really. Not bad on those flanks there. It looked like everybody was taking the same length step. That in a video before, I was talking about the end step. the end of one direction moving into another. So if you're executing a right flank, that left foot on which you pivot to turn to the right, let's call that the end step. Lots of people tend to shorten that step, and as soon as you turn, then, oh man, I'm way out of alignment there. But everybody here seemed to really do well with the same size step. It's still a 30-inch step for Marine Corps, Navy, and Coast Guard, and Army as well. 24-inch step for the Air Force. And just because you're executing Air Force commands doesn't necessarily mean that you have to scale your steps down to 24 inches and then the half step for 12-inch. Grips. Look at the grips here. I can see space in between the thumb and the index finger there, and there. Tiny bit there, it looks like. So everybody really should be splitting with the finger, but tuck that thumb into the curled index finger here. Splitting, what I was going to say is splitting the heel of the butt of the rifle. All right, so column left from a halt. First squad leader, you're going to execute a left face in march. You're not going to march forward. It's a column left. So second squad leader, you're going to execute a half left face in march. So you're going to pivot on the right toe and then kick that left foot out. It's not a facing movement to where you're going to execute the pivot also on the left heel. You're kicking that left foot out. If it's a 90-degree turn, then you're kicking it out obviously to your left at a 90-degree angle. But if it's the half, then you're going at that 45-degree angle. So you have to do it from that halted position. Now, from the halt, you didn't do it here. Thank you, Commander. I really appreciate it. But don't call from the halt. That's in the manuals to describe when you call this command from the halt. When you call column left from the halt, you do this. When you call column left while marching, you do this. It's only to describe the situation, not give you an extra huge long command like the title of my book. All right, don't need a long command, but sometimes we need a long title. All right, Commander, you turned too soon here. What you should have done is stayed facing the platoon until the middle of the platoon, which is in this case the second rank. As soon as the second rank then came up, you should have taken a step and pivoted on the right, as long as you maintain that 3-step interval there. So you pivot on the right while marking time to execute your pivot, facing the left, and then marching on with the platoon. Yeah, nice arm swing, great alignment. It looks like good. Well, no, the distance is a little close there, squad leaders. So looked like a couple of the cadets there going from right shoulder to port. It can tend to be the rifle can be a little heavy at first when you're dropping it over to the left hand to go to the port position. But you shouldn't drop the rifle. You need your forearm, your wrist, your hand, all those muscles, the tendons, the ligaments, the bones, the skin, everything. You need to make sure that you're controlling that rifle and placing it in the port position, not letting it drop to the port position. All right, so the command here is column of files from the right. All right, so you're going to be marching forward. That means heads need to turn to the right to call the command. If you're going to the left, the command is given to column of files from the left, then the heads would go to the left. So when you're calling commands facing away, and I believe you do this later on in the sequence, when you're in front of your formation and you're calling commands, it's always to the right, or in this case, when you're calling commands that go from the right, your head's turned to the right, but if you're going to the left, then your head turns to the left. Excellent job. That was really well timed. Very good. So here, column of twos to the left, then both heads, even though this squad, the second squad, stands fast, for uniformity's sake, the squad leader is still going to turn the head to the left because the command was to the left. Column of twos to the left. So that's why we get that left, or the head turn to the left. All right, so you're practicing and you made a mistake. Now, even in practice, try to maintain your bearing. And whoever said nope or something, I don't know exactly what the exchange was between commander and first squad leader, but also notice you squad leaders, you have visual memory. Look at that spacing here. The spacing is too small. So you have muscle memory and you have visual memory. So you have the spacing, visual memory of what you've been practicing here for quite a while now, it looks like, and you have this spacing cemented in. So if second squad leader were to raise his left arm up, it would have to go behind your back because you're too close to each other. All right, so anyway, maintain your bearing. I know you made a mistake here. You should call squad or mark time march and then squad halt for the next couple of commands. So, but maintain that bearing, because if you're not, practice makes permanent. A lot of people say practice makes perfect. It doesn't. It doesn't make perfect at all. If you're practicing the wrong thing, then you're going to perform the wrong thing. Well, perfect practice makes perfect. No, it doesn't. There's no such thing as perfect practice. There's always something you can learn, but you should do you should do your best to maintain that practice. All right, so we're going to go to the next half of the video. That was a great double time, a great going back to the quick time, and also I saw the sword coming across for the double time. Good job, Commander. Really well done. Everybody maintained alignment. Still, that spacing is a little bit, excuse me, a little bit close there. So saw some body movement on there to go back to from port to right shoulder. Tempo seems very consistent, even when you're at half step. Good job on the eyes right and ready front. It looked like everybody who was supposed to turned their heads. Commander, excellent job with the sword, the salute there. A little bit of an alignment problem there during the change step and then directly after. Good turning your head there, Commander. Now, make sure that as you're marching, when you're facing in column formation and you're marching, make sure that each command you're turning your head to make sure that that the platoon is aware of that next that upcoming command. Good sword technique there, Commander. Grips are not. There we go. We're finished. So grips are not the Marine Corps technique. So got to make that split and then cradle that thumb in the index finger. So Sigonella, well done on many aspects of the performance. There are some things here. Look at your feet. They're all almost together. That's almost ceremonial technique. So make sure you work on these little tiny things that I've mentioned. And actually, there are quite a few. But that's what we do. We concentrate on these little things. So it's just like the little Legos, the little 2-nib Legos. You can have a million of those, and if you pay attention close enough and you start putting those together, and you can build and build and build. It's the single nibs you can't do anything with on their own, but the double nib will go down that low. These small details, once you pay attention to these small details, you start building and building and building, and you can build your program. So that's the story that I like to tell. It's just concentration on the little details. So, Sigonella, thank you so much for sending the video. I really appreciate it, and I hope my comments are helpful. Thank you very much.